Have you ever noticed those huge wind turbines when passing an open field, or even the solar panels on your neighbor's roof? Well, those are just two examples of renewable energy sources which are becoming much more common as we continue to grow into a society that uses cleaner energy production. So, it is imperative that we continue to use and implement these sources because they are long lasting, efficient, and they are also very environmentally beneficial. All right, so today we will discuss some of the common types of renewable energy sources that are used. And then second, we will go over the challenges with implementing them. And third, we will discuss some of the benefits that they bring to the world. All right, so the first type of energy production we will go over is solar power. Solar power is a well-known and efficient renewable energy source, and National Geographic Society describes it as the energy that's produced by the nuclear fusion that takes place in the sun. This solar radiation can be captured using active solar technologies, such as solar panels, and these devices actively produce electricity as the sun shines on them. All right, so second, we will go over wind energy. The U.S. Department of Energy explains that this type of renewable energy involves using wind turbines to connect the turning motion of the blades pushed by the moving air, which is the kinetic energy, and turns it into electricity. So the bigger these wind turbines are, the more energy that is being produced, which is why they're often placed in isolated or rural areas so that they're not in the way of anything. Lastly, we will discuss hydropower. This type of sustainable energy is commonly used worldwide, and it currently produces around 14% of the world's electricity. And in addition, the International Hydropower Association 2026 states that there are 4 different types of hydroelectricity plants. The 4 types include run-of-river, storage, pumped storage, and offshore. And these different hydropower plants all convert the energy of moving water into electricity. So all these different energy sources have one thing in common, and it's all that they're renewable. So they're never ending. So now that we've gone over the common types of energy sources, let's take a look at some of the challenges associated with these implementations. So although renewable energy sources are becoming more and more common worldwide, several challenges affect its development and use. So one of the biggest difficulties with the increasing use of renewable energy sources is the high economic cost associated with them. So it takes approximately $2 to $4 million to fully build and install just one wind turbine. So imagine having to make a whole field full of these large wind turbines. Similarly, a hydropower plant can vary between a few million for a smaller project to around $10 billion for large dams. And these costs create a huge economic barrier that prevent the expansion of renewable energy, which is very unfortunate, but in my opinion, it is worth it. And another issue involved with these energy sources is the large amount of land and resources required to build such projects. So our World of Energy, May 5th, 2023, describes that a wind farm typically requires 2 to 40 acres of land per megawatt of capacity, depending on a variety of factors. That is a lot of land in itself. And solar power plants also require a good chunk of land, similar to these wind power plants. And then Solar Energy Industries Association, June 2026, estimates that between 5 and 7 acres of per megawatt of generating capacity is needed for these projects. Overall, these numbers indicate that creating new renewable energy plants would be very demanding on our land, and it would necessitate the clearing of vegetation in a lot of areas. In addition to high costs and resources, intermittency is also a huge struggle. There are some days where the sun is not always shining or when the wind isn't always blowing, and so this reduces the amount of energy that is being produced in that day, and this could go on for who knows how long. It can go on from days, maybe weeks, where the wind doesn't blow, or the sun is always shining, but the wind may not always be, you know, as strong as it usually could be. And so this establishes a mismatch in the consumer demand and the supply of the electricity that they need. So consumer demands are not being satisfied in these days where not enough electricity is being produced. And so after examining the challenges, we can now explore the benefits that these sources provide. So there are many benefits to using renewable energy sources. Let's review some. So the name renewable energy is very fitting because the electricity is constantly being reproduced and like renewing itself. So although there are some days where solar or wind power is not producing as much as it should, they don't necessarily deplete. So they're always replenishing themselves, even on days where they're slower than usual. And aside from infinite supply, these sustainable energy sources are environmentally beneficial because they rarely emit any pollutants into the atmosphere. And the climate portal, July 25th, 2025, states that renewable energy produces far less carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases and pollutants. Although some energy sources release carbon dioxide during the manufacturing process, most of them do not produce any when they're fully running. So this plays an essential role in climate change mitigation and preventing any more global warming from happening. And in addition to these environmental benefits, renewable energy also increases job opportunities, which results in an economic benefit for everyone. And the U.S. Department of Energy, August 24th, 2024, emphasizes that the investment in clean energy by the previous presidency increased employment by 142,000 jobs, which is great in this economy for many reasons. It provides more people with financial freedom. And yeah, so after going over all those benefits, now we have learned the challenges with implementing these renewable energy sources. We've learned the benefits, and we've also learned the common types of renewable energy sources. And so it's very important that we continue to use and implement these sources because they're long-lasting, efficient, and they provide many environmental benefits for us. And yeah, so whether it comes from wind, sun, or water, renewable energy is important because it provides cleaner ways of producing electricity. So maybe now you'll want to buy some solar panels